back in the 1500s, I'm not sure up until when, but the time of the samurai in Japan, uh, when the men who were the samurai, the warriors, the Japanese warriors, were called to fight, called to war, and there was something called Bushido, and this basically means the way of the warrior. If you guys have watched Mulan or watched The Way of the Samurai by Tom Cruise, one of my favorite movies by him, they talked about principles, okay? And as you know, I'm trying to rediscover my masculinity, and we're talking a lot about what's happening to today's men, the attack on masculinity, trying to make us into women, and trying to turn women into men. So, anyway, this is my goal right now, that's my mission. Back to the Japanese warriors. These men had to stick by 7 principles, 7 ways, 7 sort of non-changeable, non-negotiable, clear-cut principles. I can't name all 7 of them, but it was things like loyalty, discipline, honesty, self-control. It was just 7 things, and when they were broken, they would be either released from the army, from the samurai sort of colonization, or they would be, I don't know, they have a very, very strict culture. Maybe some of them would be killed, I don't know. But they had very strict principles, and because I'm trying to rediscover my masculinity, I think this is a very important thing as a man to have for me. Talking to myself, for myself, and for you guys. The principles that you have, meaning the rules you have. I'll tell you honestly, straight up, man. This is something that I always struggled with, and I still do. Okay? Your principles define who you are. Your values, your non-negotiable terms and conditions define who you are as a man and as a person. If you don't have any, then you're not a man. It's as simple as that. If I give you an example, I'm trying to think of another example. If you can think of a character or a person in your life that has to stick by certain things, and they stick by it like it's golden. It's just clear cut. It's unchangeable, and they're strict as anything. They don't mess these things. They don't pass the line. The 10 commandments, so to speak. The 10 things that were cemented. So having principles, having values like this, really tests your masculinity a lot, and it is the foundation of your masculinity, I think. If I think about it, if you look at a more broader aspect, your masculinity is defined by by you being a man, and by you being a man is having principles and having values, having rules, having set key terms that you live by, like the samurai, like the 10 commandments. They define who you are, and they give purpose and direction in your life. You need to be disciplined enough, you need to be patient enough, you need to have a lot of self-restraint and self-control. and you get confidence, and you have a sense of purpose and direction because you have these goals and these principles. Um, and I first got into this stuff by my mentor, my men's mentor, and he told me to read a book called "Hold On to Your Nuts," and your nuts is a term to describe your non-negotiable terms and conditions. That's what your nuts are. Hold on to your nuts. It's a very beautiful way to put it because, as men, we have nuts, so to speak, so you hold on to them. It means you're holding on to your manhood. And some of the nuts are always tell the truth, regardless. Tell the truth. Honesty, like the samurai. Another one could be self-restraint. Restrain yourself. If you need self-control here, if it's not a good thing, if it's not the right thing, control yourself. Sincerity. Be sincere. Don't be fake. Don't half-ass it. Don't be, don't mess around with people's emotions. Be sincere. Another one could be non-violence. So you try your very best to be non-violent. Of course, sometimes violence is needed, but as a general rule, non-violence. Another one could be, loyalty. Keep your word. Don't backbite people. The people who you've kept your word with, keep your word. And a lot of these things, as a person who believes in religion, a lot of these things are already set for a person. For example, in my faith, you don't eat pork, you don't drink. So, we've already been handed down these beautiful values and terms and key things. I'm gonna give you an example. My friend, who's a very good friend of mine, who I've known since high school now, he wanted to take me out. I told him, man, I'm trying to get out a bit more. And we was going to go and watch a friend of his play music. But the friend of his was playing at a bar. And at this bar it had alcohol. Now, here is the only time I can really recall recently where I've stood up for my nuts. And if I held on to my nuts. And because I held on to them, I remained in my frame. I said, nah, man, I can't do it. I told him nicely and sincerely, I'm not going to go around an alcohol environment. He told me people only have one drink. It's not that crazy, it's pretty tame. I said, look, dude, if there's alcohol there, I'm not going to go there because in my faith we don't have we don't associate anything with alcohol. And he just understood. He accepted me, and he respected that, and I felt good. Number one, that my friend respected me because I have my nuts and because I have my principles, my values. And number two, that I stood up for them. Man, I stood for something. You have to stand for something. I remember Malcolm X. He said, if you don't stand for anything, you will fall for everything. If you don't stand for anything, you will fall for everything. I think Malcolm X is another guy. If you guys can get his biography, his book, I think you guys should look into Malcolm X. He was an amazing person. Learn from these great people who held onto their nuts, and they held onto their nuts whether or not it cost them their life. They held onto their non-negotiable. That is a real man. A real man is willing to give his life for his values and his beliefs. And that is the true thing in my religion. It's a beautiful thing we've been provided. So I'm going to end the video there. Pretty long video, 10 minutes. But I think that's the first step in the direction of manhood. What are your principles? What are your rules? I'm talking to myself. I'm not talking to you because I'm still growing. I'm still learning. But obviously you're part of the journey, man. What is my goals? What is my principles? What are my values? And then I told myself this today. It's not about just having goals. It's about following through with the goal. It's not about just shooting the basketball. It's about following through with your arm, with the basketball. Otherwise, the goal will never go in. Have your goals, have your things. As many times as you stick by them and you follow through with them, the more goals you're going to shoot. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Take care.